Vi ska gå vidare i vår agenda och nästa bolag att presentera är Oasmia och här för att presentera bolaget är dess vd Francois Martelet. Francois, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Klaas, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to this Cancer Day, which is right in the middle of my expertise, having had leadership roles at both Novartis Oncology worldwide and also Merck worldwide, and then a number of CEO assignments in oncology in Europe and in the US. So Oasmia, so we are really an integrated pharmaceutical company with most of the functions of a classical pharmaceutical company. So in that sense, we are not a drug delivery company. We are using our technology platform called XR17 in order to generate new formulation of existing marketed drugs and or to generate new compounds. And this is the beauty of Oasmia. We have these two legs that we are working on. We have a pipeline in oncology, and I will come back to that, mainly with two compounds. We are listed on the Nasdaq in Stockholm. Market cap is around 2 billion SEK, and I joined the company in March of this year. So we are really have started the transformation of Oasmia, and as you may know, it all comes with the people. So following my appointment in March, we have really reshuffled the management team by bringing senior executives coming from the industry in the management team level, such as the CFO, Fredrik Gersten, Peter Selin, ex-Inceptua. Elin Tramper is our CTO coming from our internal pipeline. And Reinhard Koenig has been working for a number of years at Oasmia, assuming a role of a CMO. The board at the same time has been also transformed. Also, it now consists of senior level executives coming from the biotech and from the pharma industry. And this is, of course, an important element in the new Oasmia. So what are we trying to do at Oasmia? Basically, it all comes that small molecules, most of them, they have a poor drug solubility. So therefore, most of those drugs are not water soluble. And this is one of the major issues in drug development for small molecules that the pharma industry is facing. And we listed here some percentage. So about, up to 90% of the pipeline drugs are classified as not water soluble. And around 40% of existing marketed drugs are also very poorly water soluble. Of course, the pharma industry is using solubilizer in order to alleviate and transform those molecules more in water soluble. However, these solubilizer generate a number of side effects. Some of them are very serious, such as hypersensitivity, neuropathy, and also, usually people do require a number of pre-medication or post-medication. And this is exactly what we are addressing as a major challenge in the drug industry. The platform consists really on an encapsulation process. So that means that you take an API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, you mix it with a derivative of vitamin A's, 13,6 ex-mina, through an hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic chain, and then you encapsulate. So you produce what? A micelle. And this micelle will be then, administered into the blood through an IV infusion, will be dissolved very quickly, and that's also an important point, and will penetrate the membranes and then reach its target. So all in all, our platform does increase the solubility, potentially also improve the safety and the efficacy of the new formulation, because I will come back to that, we can increase significantly the dosage of the drug. Right, XR17 is an agnostic platform, has been validated in oncology for one product, I will come back to that, paclitaxel basically, but is agnostic, so can be used in some other therapeutic area. One important point is that we have a high drug load capacity. That means that we can use a lower amount of solubilizer to reach the goal. And that's also one of the features of this technology compared to others. And we'll come back to that. Shorter infusion time, yes, that's important because then physicians and nurses can release patients on an outpatient basis quickly and quicker. Superior solubility, I will come back to that. And the most important point is, of course, this is a validated platform since we've got an approval with a paclitaxel micellar in ovarian cancer indication. Our platform basically, allows those drugs to be free from alcohol. That's important I will come back to that with regard to a partnership we've recently had. Cremophor free, polysorbate 80 and serum albumin free, which we know are the source of a number of side effects. So this slide shows the IP protection. It's a wide protection that we have up to 2036. We have IP protection regarding the manufacturing process. We have IP protection regarding the combination of poorly soluble API in combination with the platform, and also in combination with chemotherapeutic agents. That's important. And we have applied for an SMPC, which is an SPC, which is a supplementary certificate in order to extend so 5 years more in Europe. Right. So this is our portfolio, and our portfolio consists of proprietary, I would say, human health portfolio, and then we have an animal health portfolio. Within the human health portfolio, we have a paclitaxel micellar called Apilia, and that has been licensed out to a company in the US, Elevar Therapeutics, which is a subsidiary of HLB, a South Korean conglomerate. That product has been approved in Europe for advanced ovarian cancer and is under a review process with the FDA as we speak. Docetaxel micellar is proprietary to Oasmia and has been and will be developed in phase 1 in prostate cancer, and I will come back to that. We also obviously are working with new API to put into XR17, and I will disclose that at the right time once the final test will be done. We're also working with what we called XR19, that is a dual encapsulation process. That means 2 API combined into a micelle. We have great hopes that that could be a significant step forward in reducing the amount of drugs a patient has to take, IV. Animal health portfolio, growing market, mainly in the US, with Pacal Vet and Doxophos Vet. 2 phase 2b have been positively recorded, and now we are looking at the next steps. So what can we do with this animal health business? Right. So you may think, well, the oncology market is full of new compounds such as the CAR-T, but actually more traditional drugs are still very well used in this market. If I look at in 2018, the taxane market was around $2 billion US, and will be growing at a compound annual growth rate of more than 10%. Will be reaching more than $4 billion USD in a few years from now. So I listed here the compounds that are similar to Apilia, with various degrees, obviously, Taxol, Taxotere, Abraxane, Yeftana. However, Apilia is the only drug that has been approved in advanced ovarian cancer in Europe. Right, so the initial target for this drug is a subset of patients that cannot tolerate solvent-based paclitaxel. It could be cremophor, could be serum albumin. That are those components of the drugs that I just show you. And it's important as well to emphasize that for patients, diabetes, patients with a kind of an advanced stage, they cannot tolerate glucocorticoids. So with Apilia, you don't need to pre-medicate with corticoids, and that's important as well. Neither pre-medication nor post-medication as well. Right, so looking at our technology vis-à-vis others, because of course, I mean, we're not alone in the marketplace, you can clearly see a number of things. First, we have a small particle size, and small particle size means lower immunogenicity. This is exactly what we are looking for when you treat a cancer patient. The dosage can be increased up to 250 milligrams per square meters, and that's an important point vis-à-vis Taxol that was up to 175 milligrams per square meters. The ratio, the drug load capacity is high, as you could see here, compared to other drugs of the same class, namely Taxol, for instance. And infusion time is short, and that's important, as I mentioned earlier, allowing physicians to treat more patients in a single day. Right. The ovarian cancer may think to be, the kind of a cancer of the past, but it's not, It's still the 8th most common cancer in women. And most of them will have a relapse in the first 3 years of the diagnosis. And carbotaxol, paclitaxel, or cisplatin paclitaxel are the treatment of choice in this cancer. On this slide, you could see that Asia, in particular China, has a very high incidence. So that's an important point from a commercialization standpoint. I will come back to that as well. While EU and US do share the same kind of opportunity. Right, so back in March of this year, we have signed off a transformative deal for Oasmia. A global partnership, close to $700 million plus royalties. We got $20 million upfront payment back in April of this year. And the rest, the $678 million is based on milestones, regulatory-wise, sales-wise, plus a double-digit royalties with the sales. We have recently released that Elevar has had an agreement with Taiba for North Africa and the Middle East. We are extremely pleased because this is the first partnership that will be in place, basically. And that means, obviously, that will trigger royalties on the sales of Apilia in that region. I have to say that at the same time, obviously Elevar and Oasmia are looking for the next partners. And just before that step, we will have Tanner, the Tanner group, that will not commercialize Apilia in Europe, but implement what we call an expanded access program. So on request, physicians can certainly get the prescription and get Apilia for their patients. So that will be the first step before the full commercialization with a European partner, for instance. Right, now a couple of words about docetaxel micellar. No need to tell you that prostate cancer is a very common disease in men. 1 out of 7 will get it through their lifetime. We estimate that over 1 million men are diagnosed with prostate cancer every single year. And docetaxel, so Taxotere, has been approved for a number of malignancies in cancer, but also in advanced prostate cancer. So we've been approached by a very well-known cancer research group called SAC in Switzerland in order to initiate a phase 1b trial in metastatic hormone-resistant prostate cancer. The important piece is that we've been approached by them. It's not us going to them. And the particularity of the SAC group is that clinical trials are not shaped by commercial interest. So they are really looking for the best possible treatment for their patients. So we have a couple of scenarios that we are working with regarding the clinical development of docetaxel micellar that we intend to do internally. So the first step will be this phase 1b in metastatic hormone-resistant prostate cancer. If the phase 1b is positive, we could move through the classical phase 2, phase 3. At the same time, if we could also have another option, which would be to target hormonosensitive patients. And then this is mentioned actually here. You see, docetaxel micellar with in metastatic hormone-resistant patients with androgen suppressive therapy. And that could lead directly to design of a phase 3, therefore much quicker route to the market. We'll see what will be the result down the road. Right, so let's move to a financial slide. This slide does show you, the cash and cash equivalent, and we have released that recently. So in the bank, it's about 354 million SEK, which is quite significant. The important piece is that since I joined the company, we have significantly reduced the burn rate. And the target is now around 10 or slightly less, 10 million SEK per month. All the savings linked to the reorganization, the right sizing of the company amount at more than 100 million SEK per year. And this is an important point, obviously. And at the same time, we have, by the first quarter of next year, the company will consist of around 26, 28 employees. Right, so all in all, we believe that not so many companies are at a commercial stage, have a significant deal in place, have been able to demonstrate that that deal is not only on the paper, but we just you just saw this announcement in the Middle East and Africa. This is the first step of a number of milestones that will come over time. We do have also our proprietary pipeline, docetaxel micellar, and other API to come into the machine. We are in a strong cash position, clearly, and therefore, with the reshuffling of the management team as the board level as well, we are certainly in a great position to either licensing in new compounds or acquire companies in oncology that fit our strategy, obviously. And this is what I will terminate this presentation on.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Francois. And I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
You ready?
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to start off with your first move, at least from the shareholder perspective. Before the summer, you launched this or communicated this strategic overview. And as I understand, it's to build a more commercial focused organization. I just wonder where you stand in that process right now. Firstly, with downsizing the headcount, and also if you have the right people in the leadership yet.
Well, I mean, clearly, I would use the word right sizing of the company. Okay, the overarching goal is to become a cash profitable company. And of course, this cannot happen overnight. That's impossible. So it has to do it step by step. We have achieved the first part of the transformation of this company by right-sizing the company and bringing on board the best talented people, in the Nordics. And then, obviously, with this implementation, let's say, with the realization of the Elevar deal, that will certainly not only strengthen our position, but also add more credibility to the new Oasmia, which will allow us to go to the next level.
Great. And yes, the XR17 technology, that's the core of Oasmia today. And part of your business is to find partners that perhaps want to use it, and also to find other interesting projects to perhaps drive by yourself. I just wonder a little bit, how are you working with this technology? Are you out there and try to find on conferences and etc. to build interest in the platform, or are you perhaps also looking at assets that has failed in the clinic that could be interesting for you? Maybe if you could describe a little bit how you're working with this platform.
So we have certainly initiated these steps. So we have initiated a number of discussions with a few partners. These discussions are ongoing. You know that it takes some time from due deal perspective, 6 to 9 months. That's the minimum that you can expect to get something done. But we are also, and bear in mind that I've been only on board for the last 6 months. But certainly, I mean, we are working on both, and at the same time looking at compounds that have failed in clinical development. Yes, and I think that's an area that is also interesting, and especially in big pharma, actually.
And such a compound could be interesting to in-license for you?
Yes, absolutely. Usually when big pharma, fail with one drug, they want to get rid of it, because no one would like to have accountability for the failed clinical development. So this is an opportunity. But of course, we have to make our own due deal from a medical standpoint as well, and from a scientific one.
Yeah. Absolutely, fully understandable. And looking at your pipeline, I would like to start with what is not disclosed yet, and that's the new API program.
Yes.
I just want to, if you could share some information about when would you go public with what this is actually.
I will go public as soon as I have revalidated our test, basically, with the new API, and you will be the first one to know, but I cannot disclose anything right now.
So this is not driven by patent or
absolutely not, no.
Okay, perfect. And I would like to jump to Apealea, and that is now approved, and also if you just could share a little bit more information about this Taiba deal. Do you think this could be launched in the region without any more clinical activity or regulatory approvals? Does the EU approval, so to speak, could be used in this region as well?
Good question. Yes, so the EU approval will be certainly used from a regulatory standpoint in this region. Usually it's relatively fast in terms of regulatory approval if you have an EU approval or a Swiss one. And obviously this is what we are counting on. There is a significant potential from a sales perspective in that region. If I could quote a few comparisons, Abraxane, in this region, usually account for 5% of the 1.2 billion sales turnovers. So you can count on a potential for this drug, 50, 70 million. That was for Abraxane in a number of indications, but still, it's not insignificant, double-digit million USD.
And will Taiba do any other, activities to promote this drug? I mean, will they do some clinical activity in the regional patients or something like that? What's included in the deal? If it's possible to disclose it.
That I cannot disclose that. What I can tell you is that the first step is to get the approval, and I can disclose that will be Saudi Arabia. And I used to visit Saudi Arabia many years ago, King Faisal Hospital, which is one of the biggest, very high standard hospital in Saudi. That will be the first target, the first market. And then, it will be a cascade of approval in the region, in some other geographies as well.
Interesting. Great to hear. Also, one of the really strong and appealing things with Apealea is that you do not need to pre-medicate with steroids. And during ESMO this year, quite interesting data was released where a combination trial with Tecentriq and paclitaxel in one of the studies, and the other was with Abraxane. They did not show any advantage for the benefit for the patients when they combined the product with paclitaxel, but they did show that when they used Abraxane. It would be interesting to hear if you have any thoughts about this data, because it could indicate that perhaps avoiding steroids is a very necessary to show benefit for the patients.
Right. Good point. In our label in Europe, we have certainly the claim that that pre-medication is not mandatory. So the use of corticoid is not mandatory.
Yeah.
And that's one of our most important claims, you know. And you have a number of target population, diabetes, for instance, severe chronic respiratory chronic insufficiency patients that cannot have corticoids. They cannot tolerate it. And it's extremely bad for their health, you know, that is already deteriorated. So this is the kind of an indication for Apealea.
Yep. Sure. But do you think this is, I mean, what's your thought about the I mean, when you use it together with immunotherapies? This is the first data, at least from my view, that indicates that this is a significant issue.
No, but we have the same vision as well. We believe that Apealea can be used in immuno-oncology in combination, and that's really the future. And this is what we are discussing with our partner Elevar, who is now responsible for the clinical development, future clinical development of Apealea. But this is really an area of great interest to us. I mean, it does open a wide range of clinical trial possibility, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Fully understand, and I think if this turns out to be the case, I think, I mean, that would make Apealea a much more appealing product to many of the PD1 and PDL1 developers out there, because they don't have that much to choose from except from Abraxane today. And I would like to jump to docetaxel. And a little bit, if you have more details to share, how SAC found you.
We have a good relationship overall in the scientific and medical community, but we were approached, actually one of our medical team member was approached by the SAC group, so we are very proud of that.
They found your substance out there in the... Okay, great. And also this trial, will Oasmia have access to all the data that is generated during the trial, or do you have to do some payments or anything like that?
No. This is entirely a trial that is fully sponsored by the SAC, and we provide the drugs. Yeah.
And do you think prostate cancer is the right indication for this product?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and this choice of indication was coming out of a number of advisory boards and discussions with experts in the field. And really, one reason why, it's not the only one, but one reason why we believe prostate is an interesting indication is because of the corticoid story, basically. Prostate cancer patients cannot really tolerate corticoids, and it's very important that we don't, you know, overload them with corticoids. So that's one reason. But also, more importantly, we believe that we will have. Well, we feel confident from a scientific perspective now. Of course, I cannot predict what will be the outcome from a clinical standpoint, but there is a scientific rationale to use Apealea in this docetaxel micellar in this indication. Yeah,
I fully understand.
Given the fact that Aktier was a great success in commercially speaking in prostate cancer.
A problem with investigator-led studies is that they quite often we see delays in these kind of trials. how could such a delay be avoided, do you think, in this case?
Well, first of all, of course, I cannot control the COVID-19 situation.
No.
But two, we have this phase 1B will consist of 18 patients. So we believe that the enrollment time frame will be reasonable according to the oncology standards. That means potentially about a year.
Mm-hmm. And how many prostate cancer patients do SAC usually treat in their network?
I think I cannot give you any precise figure, but I think it's over the 1,000 on a yearly basis.
And for these assets, when do you think is the right time to try to find a partner?
Right, good question as well. Our core, let's say, competency lies in the clinical development from phase 1 up to phase 3. So hopefully, given the resources we have internally, given the cash position we have, there is no reason to believe that we cannot go up to phase 3.
Okay, I understand. Great. And then let's jump to a news that was out there quite recently, that the board, Oasmia, has resolved to bring action against former leadership and board members. Just could you provide a little bit more information on what's going on and what's the next step in this process?
Right. So this is not what keeping me awakened at night, to be frank. This was an old commitment from the AGM in 2019. Okay. That was done also to respect our shareholders, and to make sure that actions are taken appropriately against board members that did not behave rightly, So I think it's a fair process. I cannot give you any more details on that. This is not what is really important at Oasmia, in the new Oasmia. This is kind of ending the legacy of the past. But you should not be worried about that.
But exactly, and this is a Swedish process going on, of course. But still, will this be a costly process? Do you think?
No, absolutely not. And you saw the claim that we are looking at, so order of magnitude of 30 million SEK, yes.
Yeah, sure, great. And other processes going on against, do we have any other thing going on against previous owners and board members?
Well, there are one or two other litigations that are, in the process. Again, this is not. I don't spend any time on this, to be frank. I'm spending my time on creating value for our shareholders, to build, to secure the new Oasmia, and to continue the transformation process. We have our lawyers taking care of that, basically. But I'm not worried about that at all. And otherwise, I would not be here.
No. Of course, we'll understand. But and that's what will be the most valuable thing in the next 12 to 24 months, in your opinion?
I mean, clearly, we need, together with Elevar, to deliver on the deal. That's obviously the most important thing. And we have started with this announcement, with the Taiba announcement, to do so, and we will continue to do so. Two, we need to beef up our pipeline. Okay, and we have the cash position to do so, and we are actively looking at that, and this is under process.
This animal health business that you have in the company, I mean, that's a sort of a catalyst that you are listing as well. What activities are ongoing in this for this asset?
Right. So since I joined the company, as you know, 6 months ago, I've been focusing on the reorganization, new strategy, transforming the new Oasmia. Animal health is now coming into play in a way that we are reviewing strategically what we can do with that portfolio. Animal health is not part of our core competency. We want to focus on human health, obviously. So then the question is how to extract most of the value of this portfolio, and this is what we are looking at right now as we speak.
Okay. And also something that is important for you, or perhaps could be at least, this could be M&A. And just a little bit curious how you look at the M&A climate out there. How competitive is it?
It's a good question. It is hot, but we, of course, I cannot disclose, what we are doing internally. But we are actually, very much involved in this. Extremely on the Nordic level, to start with.
Okay, great. And I just move over here to collect some of the audience questions as well. The first question is, how is potential acquisition planned to be funded?
Clearly, with our cash position, and obviously also through a structure, a share deal structure that will be appropriate for the right type of companies.
Okay. And also a question about HLB that gives some update yesterday of a combination with Apelia and rivoceranib. What's your comment to this news?
So this is coming from HLB Bio, let's say life sciences leg of HLB. This is something that is still under consideration by Eleva and HLB. The news have been leaked, on this one. We will come back to that, okay?
And I also have a question about the purpose of the planned clinical study for Apelia. I guess it's Swedish. Is this related for the FDA process?
Eleva had a meeting with the FDA back in April. We are working with the FDA. Well, Eleva is working with the FDA towards an approval process, and I cannot comment on this. But certainly we will be updating the market as soon as Eleva does it as well.
Yeah, sure. And that's answer of the last question as well, because it's about when you expect an FDA filing for Apelia. But I guess we'll await the news flow from Eleva. Thank you so much, Francois,
Thank you,
for the presentation and taking my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.